Welcome to the Love Dog Podcast. I'm your co-host, Raina Butcher, here with our host, Dr. Hensley.
Hi.
Dr. Hensley, tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
I am a specialized social psychologist, so I am a subject matter expert in romantic relationships, specifically the science of attachment, attraction, and dark pathologies inside of romantic relationships, such as narcissism and borderline personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, and all of those good things.
It's just super interesting.
I shouldn't say good things. All of those really devastating things.
All those really bad things. So episode 11.
Yeah.
And today's topic is let them.
Let them.
Yes, which is
Let them.
I feel like it's a big like trending topic right now. And it's very wide in terms of the direction that you could go with it. But I want you to explain what we mean when we say let them.
Well, I think the most common question I get asked in my relationship coaching practices is, how do I get my partner to insert whatever behavior? My answer is always, you can't.
Yeah.
You cannot force, control, manipulate your partner into doing anything. Now, can you show up as a secure person, which may model good behavior and which may trigger them less and which may give you, like, set up the best chance for them to behave well? Yes, you can.
Yeah.
But that is no guarantee that they are going to do what you want them to do.
Right.
And people with any degree of attachment anxieties are really viewing their relationship that way. How can I get him to be more attracted to me? How can I get more attention? How can I get more affection? How can I get him to meet my need? How can I get
my ex back?
How can I get my ex back?
That one's happened. I answer a lot of your messages.
Yeah.
And
gosh, I got to finish that course.
I know.
My kids are home this summer.
I know.
They're loud.
I know.
It's hard
but
to record.
it is one of the most often messages that I get. How can I get my ex back?
Okay.
Tell me what to do. How can I get my ex back? And again, I just want to be like, well,
there are things you can do to increase your chances.
Yeah.
You can increase your chances, but can you manipulate them back? I mean, there is a science of manipulation, and people write about it and teach it. I learned it. As a social psychologist, I took classes on it.
Really?
Because you have to understand how people like Jim Jones, who took people to South America and made them drink poison Kool-Aid,
Hitler
worked, right?
Yeah.
How did Hitler get everybody to follow him?
Yeah.
Like, we have to understand how those dynamics work to understand history and to be wary
people
of when that is happening, right?
Yeah.
But I don't teach it.
Yeah.
Because it's
toxic
toxic and it's not going to get you the healthy love you want.
Right.
Isn't the goal to have healthy love?
Yeah.
And so your desire to control your partner is ruining your relationship. Here's what you need to do. You need to focus on you. You need to focus on showing up as the best version of yourself, the healthiest version of yourself, someone who's not codependent, someone who's not hyper independent, somebody who can have healthy interdependence, somebody who can set healthy boundaries, somebody who can communicate non-critically, someone who can resolve conflict with respect. And you put all of those things out there, you're honest about your needs, you're as authentic as you can be, and then you wait and see how the other person shows up, and you determine whether that person shows up to your standards.
Preach. Oh my gosh. I feel like this episode's already over. The end. No. I mean, that's amazing. And I mean, people, if you're listening, you should probably when you listen to this, you should probably fast forward or rewind it and then listen to it 3 times, what she just said, because you're so spot on. And it sounds like a really simple concept, but it's really difficult for people to do.
People that have attachment wounds.
Yes.
Securely attached. See, that's the difference between securely attached people and insecurely attached people. Securely attached people behave in that exact way. They are not afraid to walk away from relationships that are not serving them. They do not mistake fear for chemistry and being attracted to red flags. Red flags repulse them. They go, ugh, I don't like that. Doesn't feel good to me. And so I'm going to walk right back into this relationship with myself in singlehood, and I'm not scared of doing that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If it doesn't work for me, it doesn't work for me. But they're also very capable of fostering intimacy, and they have a normal desire for connection, unlike the avoidant person who wants to stay hyper independent and can't foster normal intimacy, right? So the anxious person will stay in relationships that are terrible. They're attracted to the red flags. You know, they mistake the fear for chemistry. They mistake their anxiety for chemistry.
Yeah.
Secure people don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They grew up with parents who had healthy relationships and who gave them proper emotional attunement. Your husband's a great example of this.
And
we always say Josh is the born secure.
Yeah,
you know?
He is. And it again, I know I've said this before and I'll say it again because it's worth repeating, but I feel like I was so on the cusp of reaching my attachment security, and Josh was just the biggest blessing because I was right here, and then when I met him, it took me over the edge.
Yeah, because he modeled security and he set the standard of this is how things are going to go. And he's not going to put up with crazy, toxic, erratic behavior.
And I knew it. And so I was like, well, I probably shouldn't show much true colors. Should probably keep that to when we get married, and then I'll really show my psycho.
No, you didn't. No, but it brings a sense of safety. Josh didn't trigger you.
No. And he never has. I mean, we've been together for almost 4 years, and he's never triggered me. He is just the most calm, kind, level-headed. And I mean, Josh is the most morally just, good person that I've ever known in my life. Like it's funny because people are his friends now. He became a police officer later in life, and his friends are like, I can't believe, dude, that you're a police officer. And I'm like, he was meant for this job.
Yeah,
like
because they need the morals.
Yes,
they need the sense of justice.
He is the
and right
epitome of justice.
He is
what is good and what is right. He will always do the right thing, and he's not afraid to stand up for it.
Yeah, I feel like that about my husband. I feel like my husband does the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah,
you know, and
even if it's not what he wants to do.
Right, exactly, because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like baffled. That my husband became secure.
Yeah.
My husband has more trauma than like anybody I've ever met in my entire life.
He might
He has more trauma, more childhood trauma, more, military, trauma from combat. He is a Purple Heart veteran where he was severely wounded in combat. He
That's
went
a
to
trauma
2 wars.
I can't even fathom.
Yeah. He has witnessed a lot of death, a lot of gruesome, awful things. He's lost a lot of friends to suicide that were in the military with him.
Yeah.
He had some very dysfunctional previous relationships because he was a fearful avoidant and he chose bad people.
He chose narcissists.
And then God really worked a miracle in his heart. And he went to therapy. I mean, he did the work.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Like when I met my husband, I was like, wow, you've done the work.
Yeah.
And I was so into doing the work that we could talk about the work, right?
Yeah.
We could talk about personal development and character development and, growth and
that's really beautiful because that creates a really special type of intimacy.
It is.
When you can really, I will talk all day about psychology and, spirituality because I don't like surface level conversations.
I don't either. That's the FA.
If we're going to talk, we got to get deep.
Yep.
And I'm so thankful for Josh in that aspect too, because he likes to get deep. Right. He likes to have really meaningful, deep conversations.
Right.
And I think that's probably how you and Donald initially had your first sparks of chemistry.
It was like, oh, you've been through that? Yeah. Me too.
Oh, but you're doing things to get better? That's sexy.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You love God too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're all about self-reflection?
Yeah.
You look at your own behavior and try to determine, is that healthy?
That's
what?
Hot. That's hot.
That is so hot.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to marry him on my first date, but of course I didn't bank on it, but I was like, wow, this guy's something special.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember you calling me and telling me that.
Yeah. I was like, he's something special. He's into personal growth. Woo, green flag. But I think the majority of my clients have some degree of anxious attachment. They're either fearful, avoidant, or anxious, preoccupied. And they are usually with a DA or with a more avoidant FA. And it's how do I get them to? How do I get them to? How do I get them to? How could or they're in a breakup situation and the relationship was terrible.
Right.
And I have to ask them, I say, what is going on with you that you want to return to this relationship?
Yeah.
And I always hear a very similar answer. Well, they're the only person that's made me feel like this. Feel like what?
Anxious?
Desperately needing to be with them?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at that. And let's take a look at how they've treated you. And is that the appropriate way you should feel for someone who's treated you like that? So what is going on with you? Right? Where is that attachment anxiety coming from? And let's fix that. Because it is fixable. So I always tell people, like, they always like, how do I get my ex back? How do I get my ex back? And I'm like, well, there's another alternative, right? There's an alternative to heal and move on and not feel anxious and devastated.
All right. And not repeat the same cycle.
And repeat the same pattern.
And
then maybe Band-Aid your pain with a new partner.
Right.
Only to choose another poor partner. There's the third alternative, because they see two alternatives. When someone's in a breakup, they say two alternatives. They say be in absolute misery or get them back.
Yep.
And I'm like, no, let's take this third route of healing. Where you don't have to go back to a crappy person, but you're also not devastated where you can't function.
Yeah.
And you're thinking about them 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's choose that. How about that?
And you just have to sit in it, right? You have to walk through the pain.
You do. There's the only way out is through. But you don't have to be so consumed by it. You can learn healthy emotional processing.
Yeah.
And now there are some relationships that end prematurely that shouldn't have ended.
Yeah.
Right? That weren't so dysfunctional, that maybe had some problematic areas that if both people were willing to work on it, a reunification would be okay. And I do help people determine that.
Yeah.
And in my breakup course that is being created right now, I'm helping people to make that determination, right?
Yeah.
Should you go back or should you not return?
Yeah.
Should you stay or should you go?
And that's huge. And I want, if you can think of one sort of on the fly, like a real life example of letting them, right? Just sitting back and letting them.
So it would definitely be relationships usually where there's an FA partner and a DA partner. Because the DA partner becomes so withdrawn, so uncommunicative, deprioritizing them, not meeting their needs. And they are just trying so hard to get the DA partner to see how deficient they are, and that that's not normal, and that their needs are normal, and there should be a normal amount of intimacy, and there's really not, and the DA doesn't see it. The DA's version of intimacy, they see that as normal.
Yeah,
which it's not.
So is your advice when you coach to, because another question that I get is specifically when people are dealing with DAs is like, how do I get them to, when I was coaching, how do I get them to come closer to me?
Well, the only chance of that is showing up secure and setting boundaries. Because here's the thing. So, and I had this very same personal experience, so I can relate on a personal level. If asking for what you need in a relationship from your partner pushes them away, they were never going to give it to you.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
If just asking for it makes them run away, they're never going to give it. They're not going to just spontaneously realize they're not giving it to you and start giving it to you. They're not going to give it to you because you nag them to death about it or criticize them to death about it. They're not going to give it to you. If going and saying, hey, you know what? These are my needs. Here's what it looks like.
Stating them non-critically.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
Is that something you're willing to do? And then if they say yes, great. Sit back and watch and see if they do. That's let them.
Yeah.
Let them show up. And if they don't, leave.
Yes.
Because they're not going to do it.
I know that's easier said than done.
It is.
Especially in circumstances, where you've been married for years, you share assets, you share children, all those things. I know that's really difficult. But at some point, you have to take inventory and then make a decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And my approach, if they're married, if they have children together, is always, let's focus on your attachment security and showing up as a secure person, because you're going to trigger them way less than you are showing up anxious. And then let's see how that goes. Let's see if that feels good enough for your DA for their nervous systems to relax. And when
Yeah.
their nervous systems are safe, then they're capable of more intimacy. So let's try that first. But sometimes we have someone who's so severely dismissive avoidant that without that dismissive avoidant doing their own focused work, it's not going to matter how secure you show up.
Yeah.
They are going to run away from intimacy and conflict. That's just who they are because their wounding is so deep. Again, attachment is on a spectrum. You can deviate a little bit from secure or you can deviate a lot from secure.
Yeah.
And if you have somebody who has mild to moderate insecurities, you showing up secure is going to make a world of difference. I mean, you can drastically transform relationships. If you have somebody who's severely insecure or has narcissistic traits sprinkled into their severe insecurity or other mental illnesses or pathologies, it's probably not going to matter. But I help people make that determination. I mean, I have to work with people enough. And I have one client very specific in my mind right now. She poured herself into the work. And I worked with them as a couple. And we did a full 12-session situation. And they did my group. And she made dramatic changes. He did not. I believe there was narcissism there. Of course, I can't say that.
Right.
But I said, here are some resources on narcissism. Go make your own determination. And she made that determination. And that's when she said, but her earning her attachment security allowed her to file for divorce because she would have never left
Right.
if she didn't. And she's told me that. So I'm not just trying to toot my own horn. She said, you gave me the attachment security to set the boundaries that I needed to set 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah. See, sometimes you're fixing marriages, but sometimes you're just fixing, you're overall fixing people so that they can make the right decision towards joy, happiness, and peace.
And she's coping with the divorce in a way that doesn't feel devastating to her, in a way that doesn't feel like she can't function.
Man, and that is huge.
Right?
That is huge.
And she's setting the appropriate boundaries and she's attuning to her children because
children.
Her children, because when you become securely attached, you model secure attachment to your children, which is teaching your children, which is shaping their attachment, right? As they grow up. And so you're really earning your attachment security. It's not just for you. It's not just for your relationship. It is for the developmental health of your children to grow up and seek out healthy relationships. So you don't want your children to be with a narcissist or a drug addict or an abuser or whoever.
Right. I feel like it's for all of your relationships.
When
you achieve your attachment security, even with friendships, I feel like you can sit back and you can just, and we've both experienced this.
Yes.
Like you just let them, right?
Let them.
Yeah, where you're just like, you know what? They can have whatever narrative they want.
That's okay.
And I'm going to let them have it.
I can be the villain in your story.
Yeah.
That's okay.
And I'm just going to let that, I'm going to let that lay.
Yep. I'm going to show up with my expectations, my boundaries. I will do it with kindness, honesty, and respect. And if that doesn't work for you, okay.
Yeah.
Leave.
Right. And that's the thing. That's what's so beautiful about it. You may end up with less people in your life.
Yeah.
You absolutely
so
will.
Small.
You absolutely will.
You
but
will.
It's because very few people can meet that standard.
That's right.
But when you have that standard, your life is so enriched by the few people that are.
Yeah.
So it's about quality over quantity.
That's right. And you have a lot of peace in your life.
Yes.
A lot of peace.
Yeah.
I think the last 3 years, less the last month, we will draw a line through the last month. I've had the most peace in my life that I've ever
for sure.
had.
Yeah.
Because I cut off friends that were toxic, and I didn't even have to cut them off. They cut themselves. They removed themselves.
Yeah, because that's what happens when you set standards.
Yeah, you're like...
when you set boundaries, it's only an inconvenience for the people who don't want to meet them.
Yeah, boundaries only hurt people that are trying to use you.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, and they're only offended when you stop overgiving and stop sacrificing yourself to meet their needs and abandoning yours.
Yeah, and as I notice as I get older, like all my life, I've been drawn to these people who like needed me.
Yeah.
That needed like help.
I started out that way.
You did. But you've also taught me, you've modeled to me that that's like as I've gotten older, like that's not what I want. It's not really healthy even in my friendships. And so as I get older, I realize like I'm way more drawn to these people that are extremely direct, right? Extremely honest and aren't afraid to speak their truth.
Yeah.
Because what it does for me as their friend is it takes the pressure off.
Right.
I don't have to guess.
And here's the thing, and that is the most beautiful part of our friendship. And I think that that's why we are as close as we are, and why other friendships have fallen away, is because we have always been people that could say, I need to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And you could take it, and I could take it, and I saw it as a value. I saw it as love.
Yep.
It may have been kind of tough love, but you're not just going to blow smoke up my rear end.
Right.
And just to maintain a friendship, that's doing me a disservice.
Yes.
Your friends are supposed to help you grow, help you be good people.
I don't want to just be a good time friend.
No.
I want to be an honest friend.
Right. And it's draining when you can't be an honest friend.
It is.
It's draining when people are creating their own problems and you can't look and say, hey, you're actually like creating this in your life and like you need to do some work around that. Like there's healing available for that, right? If you have a friend that just wants you to validate the living crap out of them and never be a tad bit honest, they're gonna, like, as you grow, they're gonna fall away.
Yep. I mean, it happened. It happened to me.
It's happened to both of us.
Yeah. And, you know, and
we share a lot of the same friends.
I know. And it, you know, I mean, and just like talking about it, because I've struggled, you know this, I've really struggled with, you know, losing a friendship, the friendship I lost within the past year.
I know.
Because I'll still have moments where I have like ruminating thoughts about it. And, you know, she kind of ghosted me. And so I feel this big sense of rejection when it comes to it. But then when we sit back and we have a conversation like this, it really puts it in perspective of like, no, I had made too many steps forward and she couldn't.
She couldn't meet you there.
No, and it doesn't make me love her any less. And I want all good things for her.
That's right.
But I'm okay with us not being friends anymore.
And I had my own friendship version of that too.
Yes.
A person that would come in and out of my life would get very upset with me for being very gently honest about some of the serious problems that she was creating for herself.
Yep.
And when I would try to kind of say, you maybe need to heal that, right? Maybe you need to do some work around that.
Yeah.
She would get terribly upset. She would get very angry, ghost me, block me, and then she would come begging and saying how sorry she was that she treated me poorly, and I'd give her another chance. Yeah. And this time around, that last time it happened, I was like, nah, no thanks, I'm good.
There are just certain mirrors that people don't want to look into.
That's right.
And I mean, but love is being a reflection.
Right. Love is not indulgence, people.
Right.
Let me tell you why let them is so important. Because, you know, if someone's like, oh, why can't you just love me for who I am? It's like, well, love is unconditional, but being with someone is conditional, right? I might have to walk away from you, but that doesn't mean I've stopped loving you.
Yeah.
I will always be able to love you and want good things for you, but I can't stay if you're treating me poorly, right? And then here's the thing. Love is also not enabling, and it's not indulgence in people's poor behavior, right? So if I really love you, right, which I do, I love you more than, you're my absolute best female friend. I mean, my husband's my best friend, but you're my best female friend by far. If I saw you doing something destructive that was hurting yourself, I would come to you and I would say, Raina, baby girl, like, I'm so worried about you. Like, that you're doing this. And like, I'm afraid if you keep doing this, it's going to really hurt you in the long term. And as your friend, what can I do to help support you in coming and making it through this, right? But what I wouldn't do is, if you're making those bad choices and it's hurting you and you're coming and venting to me and taking no accountability for this problematic situation you're going to be in, I'm not going to let you use me to vent and vent and vent and vent and vent and to soothe you over your own mistakes that are creating problems in your life as a direct result of your own actions. Right? I'm not going to be your perpetual, like, counselor when you're the problem, right? I'm going to be like, I'm here to support you and I will listen to how difficult change is, but I'm not going to be your perpetual therapist
Right.
over what you're doing to yourself.
I'm not going to continue to be dishonest. Like, that's really what it's
No.
about, because it's like, eventually, if I just sit here as your friend in that circumstance, if it were reversed, or with my circumstance with the friend that I lost, if I just continued to sit there and be her counselor, or just bite my lip, and not say anything, I'm being dishonest.
Yeah, you are.
And being dishonest is not being a good friend.
Right.
And so I wanted to tell her the truth, but the moment that I did, and here's where I went wrong. I let it build, and I let it build, and I let it build,
Mm-hmm.
and
a
it
pressure
was
cooker
and
situation.
then, and then it boiled over, and I blew my top. Okay, and I said some things out of anger that were the truth, but they should have come
The
from a
delivery
place.
wasn't
yes,
great.
they should have come from a place of love, right? I always want to tell the truth from a place of love, not
right.
a place of anger. And it came from a place of anger in the moment, and she didn't like it.
Right.
She didn't like it. And even when it came from a place of love, when we finally made our amends, she still didn't like it, which I know is why she ghosted me, right? Like,
For sure.
she didn't
100%.
want to look. It was a mirror she wasn't ready to look into. Period.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I get that. And that's where let them comes in. Let them walk away.
Yeah. And again,
Don't chase them back. Don't
Yeah.
pull them back in.
Yeah.
Stop being so worried that you're a villain in someone's story.
Yes.
Be the villain. Who cares? Now, when that villain actively keeps trying to hurt you, I mean, you got to have boundaries.
Yeah, that's
right?
different.
That's different.
Yeah. If they're just going to like their other friends talking shit about you, so be it. Who cares?
Right.
Right.
If they're like trying to set your house on fire,
Yeah, that's
you got to intervene.
That's a little bit different.
Right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, let them.
Yeah.
Let them.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
Speaking for all your followers.
Absolutely.
Because this is another message that comes about very often. So when there's been a breakup.
Yep.
And one person asks for no contact.
Yep.
And then you respect it.
Yep.
And then they start coming around. Okay. The breadcrumbing starts happening. Okay. Mm-hmm. That other partner who has respected the no contact starts to communicate and latch onto those breadcrumbs.
Yep.
I want you to give a scenario to what point you speak up. Do you let them speak up first in terms of reconciling the relationship? Just tell us like what that scenario looks like.
I see it all the time.
Yes.
All the time.
It's a question you get a lot.
You know what I can do? I can predict based on someone's attachment style when the person who asked for no contact will come back and start communicating.
Yeah.
I can predict it to the month or the week.
That's wild.
And it's like a superpower.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a lot of like skills.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a great cook. I'm an okay cook. Like I don't run very fast. Like I'm not an athlete really. But man, I can tell you when that ex is coming back.
Yeah.
To the week or at least month.
That's wild.
Yeah, I'm not, and I am almost never wrong. And I don't know what it blows my mind that I can do it. But and it's not me. It's attachment science that predicts it.
Yeah.
I just know the science.
Yeah, and you've studied people and worked with enough.
I've worked with enough people that I know
that it's highly predictable,
enough, right? And so I see this scenario a lot, right? The person gets broken up with, they say, don't contact me. I don't want any contact. And then they change their mind and they start saying, hey, how you been? What's been going on? Or I walked past this park and it made me think of you and I just wanted to check in.
And that anxious person is
like, oh my God,
what
gosh,
do I do?
Okay, no contact, right? Okay, and how do I respond?
What do I say?
Right?
And
so then they start conversing. They start communicating. And it's light and it's fun and it's familiar. So it feels so good, especially to the anxious person. But it stays stagnant. It stays where it's not. The other person that asked for no contact and is now breadcrumbing isn't asking to meet up with you.
Right.
Isn't saying, hey, can we have a conversation?
Right.
They're just throwing out little bits of breadcrumbs, right? And that is just killing the anxiously attached person. the fearful avoidant or the anxious preoccupied. It is just eating them alive because they want to go, hey, can we talk about getting back together?
Yes.
And here's what I'll say. At some point, you have to realize that you are not a toy that someone gets to just pick up and put down when they feel like it. That is not who you are. You are a human being with real feelings and real needs.
Yeah.
And so although it is normal to start slowly in terms of reconciling and reuniting, because there might have been a lot of hurt and pain and people need to be able to have time to process that, and there may be uncertainty in the reconnection, at some point, and I would say after maybe a month, you need to step in and say, hey, if you aren't at all interested in potentially reconciling into a place where we were before, into a place of developing a committed relationship again, I don't really think it's healthy for us to be communicating.
Yeah.
And you set that boundary and then you walk away again. Because you're a toy at that point.
Right. And that's really what being securely attached looks like right there.
It is.
And it's empowering. Gosh, it's so empowering, even though you're in pain. Because I've had to do it.
Yep.
Actually,
I've had to do it too.
The guy I dated right before Josh, you remember?
Yes, I do.
I had to do that. And it was really hard. And, you know, I almost had like this dark night of the soul for like that whole situation. It was weird. Like I had this night where like I really cried it out. And I think it was just so much more. It wasn't even really about him. Like I was just like crying out all this pain.
He was such
like,
a DA.
Yeah, for sure. And he would come back around, he'd breadcrumb me, and then, you know, and then eventually I was like, this doesn't feel good to me and I don't like it, and just leave me alone altogether.
Yeah.
You know? And even though it was scary to draw that line in the sand, because I'd never done anything like that.
Yeah, I know.
It was so empowering, and it's really it's why I found Josh.
Yeah, it is.
Because the moment that you start letting go of all the things not meant for you, it's when all the things that are come into your life.
A to the man.
Yes. And that's why you have to let them.
Yes, you have to. But see, the reason that you can't let them is because you have very deep insecure attachment wounds that are making it so painful. Your subconscious is going, the loss of that person is too much for me to handle. It's not worth, letting go, because the pain on the other side of letting go is something I can't deal with. Wrong.
Right. Wrong.
Wrong.
Right. All the great things that are meant for you are on the other side.
Yeah. You can't usher in what is meant for you if you're still holding on to what is not meant for you.
You'll be stuck.
Right. And so a lot of people are trying to get back with their exes because they have attachment anxiety, not because the relationship was healthy and fulfilling.
Right.
And it ended too soon over a misunderstanding or, due to true incompatibilities.
Yeah.
No, it's
9 times out of 10.
9 times out of 10.
That's right.
You got some anxious attachment wounds.
That is right.
You're experiencing rejection and it's painful. You're scared of being alone. You'd rather choose the devil you know than the devil you don't. Listen. The devil you know ain't nothing.
No. And I think that, this episode is, again, just validation that you got to finish that breakup course.
Yeah, I do. But see, here's the thing. I have a 6-year-old, I have a 7-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 13-year-old, and 2 crazy puppies.
Crazy
and
dogs.
I'm trying to record in my office that is semi-soundproofed. We've soundproofed it to the degree that we can. And
Vandy, she's coming here to record.
Yeah, I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to because it's like, Mom! In the background, so-and-so took my toy.
A dog barks.
A dog, Bitsy at the door, right? Yeah. And it's like, okay, now let me step away from and see what's going on with the kiddos.
Yeah.
And my husband and I both run our own businesses, and we're around a lot.
Y'all are
and
busy.
we have Miss Hannah, who's there a lot. So thank you, Miss Hannah.
Yeah.
We always well supervise our children,
Yes.
but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the optimal environment for recording content. So I've struggled this summer recording
content that you have to be really serious and like professional too to
and
make
the
it good
sound
quality.
has to be right, and the lighting has to be right, and you know when someone's blasting Taylor Swift in their room and I can hear it, it's not necessarily you know the optimal recording environment. So I got to get the breakup course finished. It's halfway done.
Yeah, and I know that it's going to be an extension of Achieving Your Attachment Security course.
Yeah, it's going to be an extension of that.
Of course, right now, if you're going through a breakup and you're in pain, you don't have to wait for the breakup course. You can go to the Dating Decoder website and check out the Achieving Your Attachment Security course, which is ultimately what you need to do.
You need it anyway.
Yes.
You need it for your next relationship.
That's
or you need
right.
it if you're going to reconcile with your partner. Guess what's going to happen? They're going to trigger you in the exact same ways that they always triggered you. And if you do not have the tools to deconstruct your triggers and to step into security and regulate your nervous system and check your thoughts and do all the things to not be that anxiously attached person, you're just going to end up in another breakup.
Yep.
It's going to go the same way.
The cycle's just going to repeat itself. And so this is what Dr. Hensley, of course, teaches.
Yes.
So buy the course, or even better,
buy the group.
Yes, buy the group, because the group also includes Dr. Hensley in real time.
In real time, you get to talk to me.
You can pick her brain. You can ask all the questions about your specific situation.
Yep, you can ask them privately and anonymously, or you can make friends.
Yep, that's right. And I mean, community is really important when you're dealing with a breakup, because the whole oh, well, me too. I'm dealing with that too. That's
my partner did that to me too.
Yeah, that makes you feel validated and good. So, yes, even better, go a step further and buy the group.
We have so many people that buy the course and then want to come back and buy the group because
they're
like, oh, this is such a golden nugget, but how do I use it in this specific situation, right?
Yes.
And I can tell them, I'm like, these are the words I would use.
Yep.
This is the particular boundary I would set.
Yeah.
And right? So I can troubleshoot your situation with you.
And that is what is so great about you, is that you give concrete black and white
say
tools,
this thing, do this thing.
Yes, that really help people get to a place where they just feel like they're not in so much pain, not so much emotional pain, or there's the emotional pain is still there. We're not telling you to not feel it. We're actually telling you to feel it.
But I'm going to tell you how to get control over it and take it out and take it down and allow your brain to recognize that it's been felt and it can be let go.
That's right. That's right. So if you are needing this in your life, most people are, please go check out Dr. Hensley's services. She has a group starting next Wednesday, July 17th.
Which by the time this drops, it might be
Yeah, that's right. You're right.
But we'll get the August dates up soon.
Yes, we'll get the August dates up probably next week.
Yeah.
So I will drop the August dates soon. So you're right, because this will air after July. But either way, just go to her website, check out all of her services. She also has an executive coaching service, which is her most exclusive. That's more for couples who really need like day-to-day troubleshooting with their relationship.
They want to be absolutely all in on repair.
You've tried everything.
I'm going to be your absolute personal mentor and daily guide in repairing. And I will tell you what to say to your partner.
Yeah.
And I will tell you what to do with your partner.
Yeah.
And this is really, really good. It's a really great service for people whose partners have said, hey, I want a divorce, but they're not exactly sure, right? And you're like in, oh my gosh mode, and I really want to fix this. I don't want them to leave me. Right. I'm your gal.
Yeah. And the executive coaching service is by interview. Just because
I can only take a few of them.
Yeah, and we want to make sure, especially with people, because I know you've run into this in the past, that have tried everything in the past and it still hasn't worked. Like you don't want to waste their time or yours.
No.
So it's really important that we have a whole interview process that we go through to make sure that it's just a good fit, because we want the value to be there. I'm actually the one that does the intake interview for that. So just go to her website, check out all of her services. There's also Coach Elizabeth, which is wonderful.
She's awesome. Yeah, if you really are set on one-on-one coaching and you need a more budget-friendly option, Coach Elizabeth is amazing. I trained her directly. She has a master's in counseling. She's absolutely fantastic. She's gotten great reviews. She's been such an asset to my business.
And she has people coming back.
And I take one-on-one clients too. My price is it's higher because...
Well, it requires so much of your time.
I have to make it worth it compared to what I bring in and other...
She's trying to scale a business, people. And I told her, I'm like, you got to take a step back. I just can't take that many clients. And the clients that I can take, it's pricey. Well, and that's the thing.
That's why I have Elizabeth.
That's right. And when you're trying to scale a business, I told you this when we first started, you have to let go of things that work so that you make room for things that will work better.
Right. Yeah.
And it's hard. We're getting there.
But the groups are so good. Let me tell you that the group is so good if you have a DA partner.
Yeah.
If you have a DA partner, you need my group.
Yeah.
You need my group. And try to get your DA partner in there because I structured it in a way that DAs thrive. Like my DAs do so good in my groups.
Yeah, because it's bite-sized modules.
And they're such slow processors. So they need the bite-sized information and then run away and think about it. Right? And then they need the bite-sized information and then run away and think about it.
It's a great way to, I've said with group, like it's a great way to take the course and kind of like watch the course, whether it's individually or not, and kind of take time to self-regulate there. And then when you come together as a couple within the group setting itself, it's a chance for you to co-regulate and come together. And so that's what it's just so great. It's a great service, probably your most popular.
Yeah, and you and your partner are getting the exact same information at the exact same time.
Yeah, which is also
with the
huge.
exact same concrete tools.
Yeah.
Like the tools are concrete. I'm like, you can choose from 5 of these phrases. Pick one.
Yeah.
Right? When you're at this stage in conflict, and my conflict resolution plans like step 1, step 2, step 3, check, and it is robotic in that sense, but it's better than you guys screaming at each other.
That's right.
Right?
Well, and I mean,
but then it doesn't become robotic because after you get the hang of what it looks like to validate someone's feelings, you are going to be able to come up with your own phrases. You're not going to need to go, I understand what you're telling me. Thank you for sharing that with me. Right? You're going to be able to be so accustomed to validating, it's going to become habitual.
Right. The brain makes the new
changes.
connections.
Yeah, the brain makes the new patterns.
So if you're looking for that, please go check her out at thedatingdecoder.com. And please continue to listen, like, follow, leave a review, please, because the reviews really help us grow. And ultimately what we are trying to do is just spread love and knowledge and help. That's what we're here to do. And so
Absolutely.
Please leave us a review because that really helps us. Even we prefer 5 stars.
I mean, if you would be willing.
Yes, but we obviously want you to be honest. And honest, I mean, the feedback helps. I mean, we're new. Like we're just here experimenting.
We want to talk about what you want to hear about too.
Yes.
So let us know what you want to hear about.
Absolutely. Make suggestions as well. So anyway, thank you all for being here. We're so grateful. And until next time, peace, love, and perspective.